What's up, everybody? So I'm gonna be changing up my content a little bit. I don't know if you really know this, but I actually did take scripting for about 9 years, Lua, and I did Python for about a year now. And so I decided I would start doing YouTube tutorials on how to script or make Roblox games. So for the first uh, video I wanted to do a course on variables and functions. So first of all, to get started, you want to go ahead and create a brand new place. So as you can see here, I have my studio layout, and what you want is your Explorer and your Properties. These are the two main sidebars you want. If you don't have them or they are not active, then you can click View to activate the two. They're at the top left right there, of course. And now we can get started. So I don't know, your Explorer tab might look different from mine, but it should work the same. So the first thing you want to do is click plus, and of course you'll see your classes that are frequently used. The three classes being script, module script, and folder. Module scripts are things that we can work on later, but for now we'll just use a regular script. So the first thing you want to do is you want to appropriately name your scripts or systems. So if you have a script that does a specific function, let's name it that. So we'll have a script that says variables and functions. So now the name of this stuff doesn't really matter exactly, or it only matters if you're trying to find this in certain contexts or whatnot, you know. So first of all, what are variables? So if you take a math class or anything like that, you may know as variables as something like a equals 50. So Lua is a little bit different. Well, this is how you would work Lua, but mainly you want to use local before everything. So local is like, let's say I have a function. If I had a function and we had function b or so, if I said local a equals 25 and we called b, you see a would not change because this is local. This is inside of this context. However, if we made it a equals 25, it becomes the server variable and it sets local a to 25. So first of all, let's go over what a function is. So functions are different contexts. So we could say function do this. And let's say we could say the time that we want to wait. So time to wait. And then what we want to print. So we'll say message. So here we'll have a wait. So typically you want to use task.wait. This is a more precise wait method. And task is a library. These are libraries that you don't exactly have to require. They're built in. So you can just call task.wait. And what this will do is it'll wait in seconds. So we'll have the time to wait. And then of course we'll use print. So what print does is if you open up your, if you click view and you find your output and you open it up, you'll see this where it has a bunch of messages in it. When you print something, it'll basically take this message and put it in your output. So let's go ahead and run the script by saying do this, and after 1 second we'll print out it. This print took 1 second. So of course if we hit play, then you'll see this print took 1 second. Now it didn't look like it took 1 second, and that's mainly because the game loaded right here, of course, and then after 1 second it'll load this, or somewhere around this time. It might have been about a second before, whenever the server loaded. So now let's take variables. So for a variable, we'd say local time, we could say 1, and then local message, which we could say hi. So this variable can be called right here, of course, where we can replace it with time and message. Now make sure that you have correct grammar. So if I name this time, which that's actually a library of some sort, so I'm not going to do that. If you see I name message, you'll see where it highlights red. The red typically means bad syntax and not something you want. Now here you can change the variable name to something different, because if you change this to message or whatever, or you tried to say message, it would do right here and not exactly what you want right here. So make sure you have your grammar correct and everything. Now the reason why we send in arguments is because what if we want to change something? So let's say after we do that, then we'll do this where we say time +1 and we change the message to bye. So +1 will mean I wait 2 seconds instead of 1 second. And you'll see after it prints this out, it'll wait 2 seconds and it'll say bye. So of course you see 09 and then 11, which that's 2 seconds. So it'll take 2 seconds to print out bye. And yep, that's how that works. So arguments are things to take account of. So print, this argument will be the message, of course, if you haven't already told. So as you can see, these two arguments, this is the time to wait and this is the message. When you start off beginner programming, what you really want to do is appropriate the names of your variables. So as you can see, I named this time to wait so that it's less confusing for me to be able to actually know what this does. And then of course we have the message that we want to print out. Now I did do a bad job naming the naming the function because I didn't exactly know what I wanted to make at first. But now that I know what I wanted to make, I can name the function print after this amount of time. Mainly you want your functions to be much smaller, the names to be much smaller, but it doesn't really matter right now. For right now, we'll just call print after this amount of time, and then you'll see the time and the message. And then, yep. So these arguments don't have to be the same name as your variables, because these variables that are being sent through will be kind of, put into this variable. So basically, you don't have to name this time. You can just say time to wait. You can name variables anything you want. So of course, as you can see, we have print after this amount of time with the time to wait and the message. And after we wait this amount of time, then it'll print out the message. Now, one thing that most complex scripters do is they change out prints or whatever to ... So now this might look confusing, but basically what this does is it takes multiple variables, so message 1, message 2, message 3, and it puts it into these little dots. Now these dots can print out multiple things at once. So we could say message, and then we could say 2, 3, and 4, and we could say bye, and we count back down. So we go 3, 2, 1, or whatever we want to do. And if we use multiple variables at the same time, whenever we print out the multiple variables, you'll see where it'll say hi 2, 3, 4 and bye 3, 2, 1. Exactly how we planned it right here. So now, as I said, this is for very complex scripters, and it is very hard to actually learn or get the hold of. But if you want to take into consideration this, then you're welcome to do that. So for right now, we'll just stick to message. And now let's get on to the different types of variables. So we have bools. So we'll just name this appropriately. We'll have bools, which is true. And another bool can actually be false. So as you can see, these little dashed lines, what I did here is I basically made this a comment. So this does not affect the variable at all. Instead, this is just a comment that I put here to say that bools could be true or false. Now we'll have numbers. Now, obviously, this will be your average 1, thing like that. And integers are a bit different. So ints can be the same as numbers, right? They can be 1, except they can't exactly be like 0.5 or 0.4. Instead, they'll be rounded. So for numbers, you can actually have these be float points where they have 0.001 or a number like that. But integers are mainly just absolute numbers. They have no decimals. Now for tables, you'll see we have these curly brackets. Now, for anybody who takes math classes or geometry classes, you'll see what you use are lists, and they look a bit different. They look more like this. Well, in Python, that's correct syntax, but in this programming language, Lua, we use these tables for dictionaries and arrays. So now, what are dictionaries? So dictionaries are indexes that have variable meanings with values. So let's say we'll have book 1 equals, and we'll create a new table with the title of the book, so like Harry Potter, and the page count, 300. And then we'll have book 2, where we have, of course, title is, I don't know another book if I'm being honest. So another book. And then we'll just have a random page count be like 100. So this will be considered a dictionary because the index right here, which is the variable, has an actual variable name, like book 1, book 2. But then there are arrays, which are basically numbers in order that explain like a title, which is Harry Potter, and a page count of 300, where no matter what order you put it in, as long it's sorted by the number. So if you said another book, what actually happens here, also don't forget your commas. These commas are considered constructors, and without commas it'll cause syntax errors in the next line. You want to use these commas to break off this variable. And so of course if I tried to print out the tables, which you'll see the print method that we used from last time, then you'll see where even though I said 2 and then 1, it'll automatically sort itself back into place into 1 and 2 with the title and the page count taken into account. Now, variables can really be anything, just like they kind of teach you in math. Variables can also be functions, which if you saw how I named the function do this, of course, this is a variable name. Of course, that's why you call it from the variable name. This will be more prominent if you're saying local do this equals function, and you'll see it has the exact same has the same context, same everything. So yeah, like I said, functions can literally be anything. They can even be objects. So we can say local server script service equals script.parent. So script is basically the script that we're running on, so it'll be variables and functions, and the parent will be what it's under, so that'll be server script service. If we warned out script.parent or server script service, of course, you'll see where it sends out a message saying that the parent is server script service right here. So that basically concludes everything that I wanted to show off in this showcase. I hope you all learned something. Like I said, this will be brand new content that I've never really done before, so I don't exactly know what I'm doing, but expect bunches of uploads and very fast explanations. Goodbye.